You didn't run out of energy. Your body was fine. What happened was quieter than that. A thought arrived. Small, clean, completely convincing. That's enough for today. And you stopped. Not with drama. Not with a decision. You just stopped. And told yourself it made sense. Here's what I want you to sit with for a moment. You knew you could do more. You just didn't. That's not a motivation problem. That's not a discipline problem. That's a system running silently inside your mind. That was built to protect you and is quietly keeping you from everything you say you want. And the most dangerous part? You're not aware it's running. Every single day it fires. Same voice, same timing, same disguise. And every single day, without realizing it, you obey. This is what that system is, where it comes from, and exactly how it can be dismantled. Not with motivation, not with a morning routine, with understanding. Most people here push past your limits and they already know what to do with it. Nod, feel something, go back to what they were doing. That's not what we're doing here. Because that advice treats this as a character problem. You're not someone who lacks discipline. You're someone running on a mental model of yourself that is almost certainly inaccurate and has been for years. Today we're going to go precise. Not what you should feel, not what you should believe about yourself. What is actually happening in the mind when it decides to stop, and what the science and the lived experience of pushing through it reveal about where your limits actually are. By the end of this, you'll understand something most people spend their whole lives not seeing. Why you keep stopping, even when you know better. Can't Hurt Me was published in 2018 by David Goggins, Navy SEAL, ultramarathon runner, world record holder. It sold over 5 million copies without a traditional publisher. Most books that reach those numbers do it with a promise, a shortcut, a system, a version of yourself available in 30 days. This book offered something different. It offered to show you who you actually are, not who you feel like, not who you intend to be, who your choices, made daily, quietly, over years, have made you. The common misreading of this book is that it's about physical toughness. It isn't. It's about the relationship between your mind and your limits. Specifically, about the gap between the limit your mind has set and the limit you can actually reach. That gap, it turns out, is enormous. The book's central claim is simple. When your mind tells you it's done, when that signal arrives and feels like truth, you are at roughly 40% of your actual capacity. Not physically, mentally. The remaining 60% is real. It's accessible. But only to people who understand what is standing between them and it. That's the entire book. And that's what we're building today. Your mind has a speed limiter. Think about a car engine. It can often handle speeds far beyond what the manufacturer allows. But fitted inside it is a governor, a built-in restrictor that caps performance at something lower. Not because the engine can't go further, because someone decided further was risky. Your brain does the same thing. It monitors your effort, your discomfort, your energy, and long before you reach a real physiological limit, it fires a signal. Stop. That's enough. You've done what you can, and you obey. Not because you're weak, because the signal feels exactly like truth. Here's the problem. The system isn't broken. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do. The problem is what it was designed for, not excellence. In survival, you conserve energy, you avoid risk, you stop early, but you're not trying to survive. You're trying to build something. And a system optimized for survival will quietly, consistently sabotage that effort every single day, unless you understand it well enough to override it. That's the whole game, and it starts here. Idea 1, the accountability mirror. Before anything changes, one thing has to happen first, and most people skip it. Not because it's complicated, because it's the most uncomfortable step in the entire process. It's not a workout. It's not discipline. It's not waking up earlier. It's honesty. Real honesty. Not the version padded with context. Not the version that admits your flaws and immediately explains why they're understandable. Just the plain, cold, unadjusted truth about who you are right now. on the evidence of your choices. A bathroom mirror, post-it notes on the glass, written truths, daily confrontations, not goals, not vision, truths. You are overweight and you know it. You are afraid to fail, so you never fully commit. You have been living below what you know is possible. Now, think about how you actually use your reflection. Most people look in the mirror and perform. They see what they want to see. They notice what they're okay with. And their eyes slide, quietly, automatically, past the parts that hurt. This is the pattern you keep repeating, not lying, not denying, just not fully looking. You already know what you're avoiding. You've known for a while. The discomfort you feel reading that sentence is the gap between who you are and who you're pretending to be. Here's what that avoidance costs you psychologically. When you don't confront the uncomfortable truth directly, the brain doesn't hold it in suspension. It resolves the tension by quietly lowering your expectations. Not with a decision, not consciously. Just gradually, what you expect from yourself drops. You call it being realistic. You call it knowing your limits. What you're actually doing is making peace with a smaller life, so you don't have to feel the discomfort of seeing what you're leaving behind. Psychology has a name for the mechanism that enables this. The fading affect bias. Negative truths and uncomfortable realities fade from memory faster than positive ones. Your brain actively edits the uncomfortable parts of your current reality out of daily awareness. The mirror is a system for reversing that fade, for keeping the truth visible daily until the pressure to act becomes greater than the comfort of avoiding. Not guilt. Pressure. The productive kind. Self-awareness without honesty is just self-perception. And self-perception is almost always wrong in the direction of comfort. The mirror doesn't care how you feel about what it shows you. That's the point. Ask yourself honestly, what is the thing you are currently not looking at? Not avoiding, loudly. Not denying, just quietly, reasonably, not seeing. That is your mirror. And nothing, not discipline, not strategy, not any tool that follows, works until you're willing to look at it. Idea 2. Callousing the mind. Here's the mistake almost everyone makes when they try to change. They treat mental toughness like a decision. They get inspired. They commit. They announce to themselves or to others that things are going to be different. And for a few days, they are. Then something hard happens, and they stop. Not because they're weak, because they fundamentally misunderstood what mental toughness is. It is not a decision. It is a tissue. Think about gripping a barbell for the first time. Your hands weren't ready for it. Within a few sessions, the skin tears. It hurts, then it heals. Then you grip it again. It tears again, heals again. But slightly different each time. Over weeks, something new forms. Not just skin, callous, hard, thick, adapted. That callus doesn't feel what it used to feel. Not because it went numb, because it changed at a structural level. Your mind is identical. Every time you do something uncomfortable and stay with it, every time you push past the first signal to stop, you are not just completing a task. You are changing the tissue, slowly, almost invisibly, but cumulatively, permanently. Mental toughness is not a decision you make once. It's a tissue you build, rep by rep, day by day, by doing the thing your mind says is too much, and then doing it again tomorrow. Here's an example that has nothing to do with sport. You decide to start waking up at 6 a.m. instead of 8. Week 1, brutal. Every morning feels like punishment. Your mood takes a hit before the day even starts. You question it every time. Week 2, still hard. But the protest is slightly quieter. Week 3, it starts to feel like morning. Week 4, sleeping past 6 feels wrong. Nothing physically changed. You still need the same amount of sleep. What changed is your nervous system's definition of normal. The discomfort is the same. Your relationship to it shifted. That is callousing. And it applies in every direction you point it. But here's what most people miss. It works in reverse just as powerfully. Every period spent in consistent comfort, every month of rarely choosing the harder option, your governor quietly tightens. Your tolerance for discomfort drops. And things that once felt manageable start feeling genuinely overwhelming. This is not weakness. It's biology. The nervous system adapts to what it regularly experiences. Which means the question is not, am I tough enough? The question is, what is my daily life currently training my mind to handle? Because it's training you for something right now, whether you're paying attention or not. Comfort isn't neutral. Every day you choose the easier option, you're not resting. You're training yourself to need the easier option. The ceiling drops, and it drops quietly, so you don't notice until it's already low. Idea 3, the governor, 2030 to 29 runner. Let's go precise. Push past your limits is advice you've heard 100 times. It hasn't worked consistently, not because you're not trying, but because you don't actually understand what you're pushing against. So let's name the mechanism exactly. The governor is not your body running out of capacity. In almost every case where you stop, your body can continue. The governor is your brain's predictive model of where the limit is. And that model is built entirely from past evidence. Every time you stopped at minute 20, it noted, this is where we stop. Every time you avoided a hard conversation, it noted, this is the boundary. Every time you quit a project when it got frustrating, it noted, this is the threshold. The next time something similar arrives, the signal fires earlier, not because the situation is harder, because the brain is being efficient. It learned the pattern. It's protecting the pattern. Your brain is not your biggest fan. It's your most efficient manager. And efficiency left unchallenged becomes the ceiling you live under. Here's a concrete version of this. A student preparing for an important exam sits down to study, gets through roughly 45 minutes. Then the material blurs. Focus drops. Mind wanders. They stop, reasonably. I've hit my limit. I can't absorb more right now. This happens every session. 45 minutes becomes the ceiling. Not because 45 is all they can do, because 45 is all they've trained themselves to do. The governor has set the prediction. Now imagine that same student once decides not to stop at 45. They stay. It's uncomfortable. The material does blur, but they breathe through it. Take 5 minutes, come back. At minute 60, something shifts. Clarity returns, a second wind. That 45-minute wall was not the limit. It was the prediction. And one session of overriding, it starts to change it. Clip, the governor doesn't update on intention. It doesn't update on motivation. It only updates on evidence, on you doing the thing it said you couldn't do. Once, then again, until it stops being so sure. The critical word is accumulation. Not one dramatic push. Slightly further today, slightly further tomorrow. Not heroically. Not publicly. Just consistently, refusing to accept the first signal as the final word. Over hundreds of repetitions, the prediction shifts. What once required real courage becomes normal. What was once a wall becomes a reference point. And your sense of what's possible, built entirely from what you've actually done, expands quietly, almost invisibly, until one day you look back and realize the limit you believed in for years was never where you thought it was. It was just where you kept stopping. Idea 4, the cookie jar. Imagine you are 70 miles into a 100-mile race. Your feet have stress fractures. You are urinating blood. Every system in your body is sending one message, stop. And your mind, completely, convincingly, agrees. This is the moment people picture when they think about physical limits. But here's what actually happens in that moment. Not willpower, not a new reason to continue, not inspiration, evidence, a deliberate, systematic recall of every hard thing already survived. Every time the situation looked impossible and turned out not to be. The 106 pounds lost when everyone said it couldn't be done. The training failed, returned to and completed. The miles run on broken bones that somehow didn't stop everything. Not replayed to feel better. Replayed as proof. This is the cookie jar. A conscious, specific catalog, maintained deliberately, of every time you were genuinely at capacity and made it through anyway. Most people don't have this catalog. They remember their failures vividly. The brain weights negative experiences more heavily. It's wired to. But their moments of genuine resilience, they blur. They become vague. I've gotten through hard things before, which the stress-flooded brain immediately dismisses. too general, not credible under pressure. Here's why the cookie jar works where general self-belief doesn't. Specificity, not "I've been through hard things." But in March 2022, 3 clients left in the same week. I had no plan. I rebuilt within a month. That level of specificity bypasses the brain's skepticism. It's not a feeling, it's a fact. And facts hold up under pressure in a way that feelings cannot. Vague self-belief collapses under pressure. Specific memory doesn't. Know exactly what you've survived, written down, dated, real. Because when your mind says, "You can't do this," you need facts, not feelings. Here's where most people are losing without knowing it. They have survived genuinely hard things, real setbacks, real pain, moments that required real resilience, but they haven't cataloged them. So when the next hard thing arrives, they face it as if it's the first hard thing, as if they have no history of getting through. The cookie jar is the practice of refusing that amnesia. Start it now, not when things get hard. Now, because the reserve needs to exist before you need to draw from it. 5 specific moments, real ones, dated if you can, not achievements you're proud of, moments you survived, because survival is the proof your brain needs. Not what you achieved, what you refused to let stop you. Idea 5, taking souls. There's a moment in every difficult situation where the standard move is to go inward. You start the calculation. Can I actually make this? What's the minimum I can do and still survive this? How long until it's over? The moment you start running that calculation, you have already started losing. Not because you stopped physically, because you moved from executing to managing, from doing this to surviving this. And those are 2 completely different psychological positions. One of them has power, the other is just endurance, waiting for it to end. In Hell Week, 130 hours, no sleep, constant cold, constant water, 2/3 of candidates quit. And the ones who quit are not always the least physically capable. They quit when they go inward, when the focus narrows to my pain, my exhaustion, my discomfort. When suffering becomes the entire frame, suffering wins. But something different happens to the people who stay. When others slow, when others start showing the first signs of breaking, they don't slow. They hold pace. They stay composed. Some of them smile, not performed, not fake. A deliberate choice. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I'm going to be excellent here. Something shifts in the room when that happens. The people watching stop seeing someone who might break. They start wondering if they will. You're not surviving it. You're outlasting them. Pain is loudest when it has your full attention. The moment you turn completely outward, to performance, to output, to what you're actually doing, pain has to fight for your focus. And when you're executing well, it usually loses. This extends far beyond any physical arena. You're in a job that's become unbearable. You want to leave. You can't yet. Standard move, survive it. Count the days. Do what's required. The alternative, decide to be the best person in that room for every single day you're still in it. Not for them. Not for your reputation. For the callous. Because every time you choose to execute inside discomfort, you add evidence to your model of what you're capable of under pressure. That evidence travels into every negotiation, every high-stakes conversation, every moment that comes after where the pressure is real. And the question is, am I someone who executes here or someone who manages here? You're not surviving it. You're training for everything that comes next. Most people wait until conditions are comfortable to perform well. The people who end up exceptional learn to perform well because conditions are uncomfortable. That gap, right there, is the entire difference. Idea 6, suffering as information. This is the concept most people resist hardest because it sounds like something designed for people who enjoy pain. Here's the truth. Nobody enjoys pain. What differs between people is what they do with the experience of it. Most people treat suffering as a signal to stop. Something has gone wrong. Retreat, recover, return when it's safer. This is the pattern you keep repeating. Not because you're weak, because you were never taught to read the signal accurately. There are 2 things physical and mental suffering can mean. 1, actual damage, something that genuinely requires rest. 2, discomfort the brain is interpreting as damage when it's actually just unfamiliar. Just hard. Just the governor firing early. These two things feel identical. That's the problem. And most people treat both as stop signs. The difference between them is everything. Your nervous system has a pain signal and a danger signal. They feel the same. Learning to tell the difference between this is damaging me and this is just harder than I'm used to. That's not recklessness. That's the skill. Here's a version of this that has nothing to do with sport. You're working on something genuinely difficult. A problem with no obvious answer. A skill you're still building. A project that stopped flowing 2 hours ago. You hit a wall. Standard interpretation. I'm out of ideas. I need a break. And you leave. What if you stayed instead? Not pushed through recklessly, just stayed long enough to ask a different question. What is this resistance actually made of? Is it real fatigue? A problem that's genuinely unsolvable right now? Fear of the next decision? The governor firing because this is harder than usual? Sitting with that question inside the discomfort rather than escaping it is itself a form of callousing. You're not training yourself to ignore pain. You're training yourself to remain clear-headed inside it, to stay in the room long enough to understand what the room is telling you. The most important conversations you will ever have are the ones you have with yourself in the moments you most want to escape. Most internal conversations under pressure sound like, "This is too hard. Get me out of here." The trained version sounds like, "What is this exactly? What is it trying to stop me from doing? And is that actually worth stopping for?" That quality of thinking, not more willpower, but clearer thinking, is the difference between people who grow through difficulty and people who are simply damaged by it. IDEA 7, failure as platform. The world record attempt failed the first time. Months of preparation, everything lined up, failed. Then it failed again, in public, in front of cameras, with an audience watching. This is where most people quietly retire the goal. Not dramatically, not with a breakdown, just a slow, reasonable pivot towards something safer. Maybe it wasn't for me. I gave it a real shot. There are more important things. And the internal negotiation happens so smoothly, so reasonably, that by the time it's over, the person genuinely believes they made a mature decision. They didn't. They let the governor win. The record was broken on the third attempt. 4,130 pull-ups, 17 hours. Not powered by more determination. Not fueled by a better mindset. Powered by the information collected from the first 2 failures. After each failed attempt, the same process. Not emotional processing. Not looking for silver linings. Technical analysis. What exactly went wrong? Where did the performance break down? What was underestimated? What would a successful attempt actually require? Written down, examined, applied. Most people fail and immediately start managing how they feel about it. The ones who actually improve fail and immediately start understanding it. Same event, completely different relationship to it, completely different result. Failure can be about 2 things. It can be about you, your capability, your identity, your worth. In that frame, it's a verdict. Or it can be about the attempt, what was missing, what needs to change. In that frame, it's a report. Most people, under the emotional charge of failure, unconsciously choose the first frame. Because the second frame requires something harder than feeling bad. It requires clarity. It requires sitting with an uncomfortable result long enough to extract what it's actually telling you. Every failure you run from stays exactly as hard next time. Every failure you sit with, really sit with, analyze, document, becomes the blueprint for the next attempt. You're not choosing between failure and success. You're choosing how useful the failure gets to be. Think about the last meaningful failure you had. How long did you spend actually analyzing what went wrong? Not processing how it felt, not explaining it to someone else, and finding the takeaway that made you feel better. Analyzing, precisely, honestly, the gap between your preparation and what the challenge actually required. If the answer is not long, that failure is still full of information you haven't collected. And until you go back and collect it, the same wall will appear again. Slightly different shape, same height. Step back, look at everything we've covered today. The accountability mirror, callousing, the governor, the cookie jar, taking souls, suffering as information, failure as platform. These look like separate tools. They are not. Every single one of them is the same move, made in a different situation. A commitment to accuracy over comfort. The mirror, accurate self-assessment over flattering self-perception. Callousing, accurate calibration of limits over comfortable stagnation. The governor, accurate evidence over outdated predictions. The cookie jar, accurate memory over stress-distorted doubt. Taking souls, accurate focus over self-absorbed suffering. Suffering, accurate diagnosis over reflexive retreat. Failure, accurate analysis over emotional self-protection. The common thread is not toughness. It is the refusal to allow comfort to distort how clearly you see reality. And here's why that matters more than any single technique. Most limitations are not physical, they are perceptual. People are living inside a mental model of themselves built from incomplete information, comfort bias, and outdated predictions. And they are using that model right now to make decisions about what they can do, what they should attempt, what is possible for them. The model feels accurate, it feels like self-knowledge, it feels like maturity. It is almost certainly too small, and it will stay too small for as long as comfort is allowed to maintain it. Listening is good, but action is better. 3 shifts, no fluff. Shift 1, the 5-minute protocol. The next time you hit the first urge to stop in a workout, a work session, a difficult conversation, don't stop. Stay for 5 minutes. Not to be heroic, not to prove anything, to gather data on where your governor is actually set. Do this consistently. The prediction updates. Shift 2, write the cookie jar. Not affirmations, not goals, not general confidence. A specific, dated list of 5 to 10 moments when you were genuinely at capacity and got through anyway. Review it before anything difficult. Your brain needs facts, not feelings. Give it facts. Shift 3, change your failure protocol. After any meaningful failure, wait 48 hours. Let the emotional charge ease. Then do one thing only. Write down 3 precise observations about the gap between your preparation and what the challenge actually required. Don't perform acceptance. Don't find a silver lining. Diagnose. These 3 things cost nothing. They require no talent, no equipment, no ideal conditions. They require only the willingness to be more interested in accuracy than in comfort. That willingness is not something you have or don't have. It's something you build, one slightly too uncomfortable choice at a time. The signal is going to come again tomorrow. Same voice, same timing, same disguise. That's enough for today. It's always going to come. That doesn't change. What changes is what you do when it arrives. Right now, for most people, the response is automatic. Stop. Rest. It made sense to stop here, but after enough repetitions of staying, of moving just slightly past the signal, just once, then again, something starts to shift. Not overnight, not dramatically. The signal starts to feel like what it actually is, not a limit, a suggestion. And once you see it as a suggestion, you are no longer obligated to follow it. You can question it, test it, move past it. And in that choice, made again and again, you build something that no motivation, no inspiration, no quote on a wall could ever give you. A new model. One built not on how you feel about your potential, but on what your actions have proven it to be. You knew you could do more. Now, do something about it. If something in this landed, not as inspiration, but as clarity, that's worth following. Subscribe to the Outlier Minds, because what comes next builds directly on what you understood today. In the next video, we're going to look at how this exact same system, the story your mind tells you about a situation, operates in the one arena most people never think to apply it. Every negotiation, every high-stakes conversation, every moment where someone else's perception determines the outcome. Same governor, same signal, completely different game. That's next.